enjoyed that breakfast. The only thing there wasn't enough molasses. I run out. And I borrowed from my son, and run out with him and borrowed from their brother, and he had an extra plate, and still I didn't have enough molasses. You know, I'm a Baptist. I don't believe in sprinkling. I like to really baptize, and I like plenty molasses. I got the sugar bowl, and there isn't too much left in it. I had to sugar them up a little, you know. Remember down in the South, down in, I believe it was Alabama, I was with the missionary Baptist people. I was down there holding a revival, and I was in a little old screened-in porch on the outside, and there's an old colored sister. She said, you know, I preached hard that night, and I couldn't hardly get up the next morning, and she called me, and I remember getting awake long enough to hear her say, "Hey, Parson." She said, "Honey, come on, I done cooked your flapjacks 4 times already this morning." 4 times she cooked them flapjacks. I like them. Just a little story I know. We're just sharing a fellowship, you know. The old Brother Bosworth. How many ever know Dr. Bosworth? He was a great old friend of mine. He said to me one time, he said, "Brother Branham, you know what fellowship is?" And I said, I think so, Doctor. He said, "It's 2 fellows in one ship." You know, got to share everything. And so that's the way, that's close communion. Close, not close. Close communion with one another. Remember one day thinking about flapjacks. We call them flapjacks in the South, Brother Bethany. So I was on a little fishing trip up in northern New Hampshire. It's the home of them cutthroat and square-tailed trout. And I'd had a little tin on my back. I'd packed back about a day and a half journey where all the soft-footed fellows couldn't get. So I was back there catching trout. Oh, what a time I was having. A little pup tent, and the day before, a little hole of water, all just fine big trout laying in there, and I was just catching them just as fast, and I'd catch one. If I killed it, then I'd take it and eat it, but ordinarily I'd turn him loose if it didn't hurt him too bad. And I'd always catch my fly on a little bunch of moose willow behind me, and I thought next morning early I'm going to take my axe and go down there and cut that moose willow down, because I catch my little coachman in that moose willow. So I got up early, and I thought, well, I might catch a trout or 2 for breakfast. And I was by myself, and I took my little old axe and went down and cut down this little moose willow and caught me a couple of fish. And was on the road back, and I heard a noise. It is an old sow bear. The place is full of them up there. It was a black bear. She had 2 cubs, and she got into my tent, and they tore it down. There was nothing left. It isn't what they eat, it's what they destroy. They just hear anything rattle, they jump on it. You know, my old stovepipe was beat up, and, well, nothing to do but go back. And when the old sow mother bear saw me come up, she run off and cooed to her cubs, and one of them come. The other one didn't come. Well, I wondered why he didn't go. Well, I had an old rusty pistol laying there in the tent, but the bear was on the pistol. So I wouldn't want to shoot the old bear anyhow and leave 2 orphans in the woods. So I sure, you take an old mother bear with some cubs, she'll actually scratch you. You know, she kind of gets a little upset when you think you're going to bother those cubs. So this little fellow was sitting in just a young tot of a bear, probably weighed 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds, early. They'd just been out of hibernation a little while, and the little guy had his back turned to him. He's just all humped up like that. Well, I thought, what's that little fellow so interested in? And the old mother bear and the other little cub was out there, and she kept cooing to him, and he wouldn't pay a bit of attention to her. Well, I thought, what's the matter with that little fellow? I got me a tree in line where I could get into it if she got after me. So I thought, I've got to see what's got that little fellow so fascinated. Usually they'll run. So I kept moving around watching her till I got around sideways, and you'd be surprised what was happening. That little guy had got my bucket of molasses, and a little half-a-gallon bucket full of molasses, and he got the lid off of it, and they love sweet anyhow, you know, and he didn't know how to drink it, so he just took his little paw and dipped it down in and licked like that, you know, when he brought it up. And he could, I hollered at him. I said, "Get out of there." And he turned, he couldn't get his eyes open, molasses in his eyes, you know, looking at it. He'd sop that bucket out just as clean as it could be. And I just stood and laughed. And anytime they don't have a camera, you know, to get that picture. And there he was, and after he got through licking the bucket out real good, he went over to the old mother and little brother, and they licked him. So I thought that's like a good old Pentecostal meeting when we get our hands in the honey jar plumb up to the elbows and then go out and tell somebody else, let them lick a while. You know, just a licking good meeting, you know. That's what I thought that little bear was having. Now there's no condemnation to him as long as he is licking molasses, you know. So that's the way we feel in a good old-fashioned meeting. There's no starch, there's no nothing but just simply sit and lick, that's all. Yes.